Hello friends, this is going to be a quick addendum to the Musou game on Steam Deck video. I actually got a decent amount of the other games running. The games that I got running in order is Dynasty Warriors 8 XL, Part Warriors 3, 4, and Samurai Warriors 5. So at this time, out of the games that I have, I know I'm missing a couple of the maybe some of the older Musou games. I don't have some of the newer ones as well, like Persona 5 Strikers. Out of these games that I own, I did not buy any games for these videos at all. That's the beauty of the Steam Deck, because if you already have a big PC Steam library, you can pretty much just you save a lot of money in the long run. So the only games that aren't working right now is Berserk. Berserk does run, but it runs poorly. Same thing with the two Dynasty Warriors 9 games and Spirit of Sanada. But everything else in here runs after you tweak it a little bit. So let's go ahead and start with Dynasty Warriors 8. I got a lot of requests for this. Just kind of was reluctant to even install it because I just started this game from scratch on the Switch like last year. But the show must go on. Alright, so as usual, with Koei Tecmo Engine games, a lot of the movies won't play, but figure if you're already doing this, you probably have already seen them before, so it's not really a deal breaker. Basically, if the video is like, I guess, pre-rendered or something, it won't load. So we'll go ahead and we'll just play for like a short period of time here. Let's go with the homeboy here. Set up. So the settings, you can pretty much, I think you can actually maybe even max them out. I pretty much just put them on normal settings. You'll have to do that from the in-game or the outside of the game launcher, but as you can see, it runs pretty well. Now it's gonna look a lot worse in this video than it would in you're actually playing on the deck itself because it's a larger screen, but works quite well. Let's go ahead and get a Rage Muso here, and you can see the stability.
Nothing less from you.
Got a Rage Muso. Let's find some dudes here.
With flames engulf you.
So pretty stable. You can probably tweak the settings a little bit, but the game kind of just works. Tweak it as you see fit. Okay, so next up is Part Warriors 3. Well, this pretty much just works. However, unlike a lot of the other older Musou games, if you try to max it out, if you try to put it on max settings, it'll drop frames a lot. It's mostly just if you put characters on medium. I'm going to stop talking for a second so I can turn the volume down. Let's see if that helps. You're not allowed to look at the Omega Force logo on Steam Deck. It's censored. It's a terms of service violation. We'll just go with that. Okay, so for settings for this game, this is what I use currently. There is no 800p on this. This is an old game, so it doesn't support a lot of old, like, kind of arbitrary resolutions. So just go with 720. The Steam Deck screen is 800p, so it's not really that much of a difference, and it'll probably make the performance better anyway. For quality, I think you can probably put a bunch of these non-displayed character settings on high, but the other ones, or the displayed characters one, can only be on many. If you put it on maximum, it will drop frames a lot, and my criteria for this in the initial video was that the game needs to run at 60 FPS pretty much all the time. Otherwise, it's not much better than the Switch versions, because a lot of the Musou games on Steam actually do have Switch ports. And my goal for this was, I already have all those games on Switch. The goal was to make them run better than the Switch version. So, if that's what your criteria is, pretty much just leave it the way it is, but don't put displayed characters on maximum, otherwise you're going to have some performance issues. So, I have played this for all of maybe half an hour. This is an old game, so it does not support Steam Cloud, so my save that I put like 50 plus hours into is long gone, but don't really need that for this. This is going to be a pretty to the point video. We're already halfway through. I had a lot of people ask about these games, so I figured I would add on to it a little bit. It takes a lot of time to do these, folks. Got to download the games and then tweak them, and some of them take longer than others. This one didn't take that much time, but some of the other ones took ages. Alright, so we're just going to play for a little bit here. If you're curious about the frame rate, I don't like to have the really in-depth performance meter on because it takes up too much of the screen. It's actually pretty impressive that this runs well, because this is one of the worst Musou ports on Steam, I would say. Just pretty garbage all around. You gotta remember, this came out like around the time that Koei Tecmo actually started taking the PC platform seriously. I think the ports have gotten better in time. I know we just had Wild Hearts drop from the same company that barely works, but their Musou stuff, for the most part, has gotten a lot better. Which, as you can see, there's lots of chaos here, and it's staying about as stable as it can. However, if you put characters to maximum, the game becomes kind of choppy. It's not unplayable. I wouldn't say it's unplayable, but I think it's better to just put it on, leave everything on default. Okay, so that game's done. So now we're going to check out Pirate Warriors 4. Well, this game is unsupported. You will have to run it in GE, I think. Let me see here. You have to run it in Proton GE. Extreme Legends and Pirate Warriors 3 don't really need any tweaking at all. They kind of just work. That's why if you buy a Steam Deck and you get upset that, you know, right here, the Great on Deck section basically just means that the game is verified. Verify basically means that it's like playable from start to finish. It does not mean that the game will run well. I think I have a couple games in here that say they're verified and they run like crap. So, uh, if something is unsupported, it shouldn't scare you away from trying it. Ideally, you should look on the Proton database, and people will generally have reports of whether the game works, if it's playable from start to finish, if it has any glitches or anything that prevents you from playing the game. Like Berserk, for instance, does work, but it runs poorly. It runs worse than a Switch version would, so it's like not even worth bothering with. However, this is unsupported, and you just saw me. It plays fine. The green check mark, just like on social media, is not the be-all, end-all. There's a lot more that goes into something being functional than a check mark. That's kind of a life lesson in general, being on the internet in modern day. A lot of the Musou games actually do say they're unsupported, but they do work. Now, this game I noticed really pushes the Steam Deck. I don't know if it's because of the ports or just a Proton issue, but this game does run. It will be better than the Switch version, but it definitely does stutter quite a bit. I mentioned this in my previous video, but basically, the weird thing about this game is it tries to install like 20 gigs of shader cache, which is, if you're on the 64 gig model like me, that's obscene. It's more than the actual size of the game. So, I don't know what's going on there. That's probably why it says it's unsupported, because it's not supposed to download like 20 gigs of shader cache. There's very few games that do that, even in the AAA space. So this is what my settings are. 720p is going to be pretty common for Musou games, because a lot of these games don't have arbitrary resolutions anyway. Like the farthest they'll go is 1080p, and they don't have like a lot of resolutions between there. And on the Steam Deck screen, like most people, they're not going to be playing this docked like I am. I think 720p is more than enough. So we'll go ahead and put character display on normal. I put it on many, and it's relatively stable, but it does freak out sometimes. You're welcome to tweak that if you see fit, but we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of gameplay here. Where's the Super Sentai guy? I don't watch One Piece. All right, I'm an uncultured swine. I just kind of call them whatever they look like. All right, so he's all set up, so we'll get straight into gameplay. I don't know if it's compiling shaders or not, but it's definitely not. Doesn't really look like 60 FPS, but it's more than playable. Since you're gonna have to turn off shader cache compilation for this anyway, I probably wouldn't bother actually installing this game. But for what it's worth, it is playable. It's still better than the Switch version, so take that as you will. It's possible that one of the reasons it's unsupported is because it's still trying to download shader cache. It's still trying to compile shaders, even though I've been working on this video in secret for probably about a week now, and like the shaders should be compiled by now, but they're not. You get a lot of random frame rate drops. I don't know what these guys are called, but the ones that turn into the smoke or whatever, that don't take damage until you break their bar, are like one of the most annoying things about this game. Anyway, as you can see, it's more than playable. It's not going to be stable, but if you set those settings, put it on Proton GE, and put most things on low, it's still better than the Switch version. Definitely the worst running game, probably in here, though. I'd say out of the ones that are actually playable, Pirate Warriors 4 and Dragon Quest Heroes 2 run the worst. So take that as you will, but both of them are better than their Switch versions, so I think that's more than enough. Anyway, for Samurai Warriors 5, this was the hardest one that was to run for me. I tried numerous things. There was actually a person on Reddit. I made a post about running Musou games on the Steam Deck, which took a lot of extensive testing, as you know, and somebody gave me the settings here, but they're still like really inconsistent. Sometimes the game freaks out, so if you want to play this on the Steam Deck, you're definitely going to have to tinker with it a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and go through the settings now as soon as the game loads. Alright, so here's the settings. So you can go ahead and pause this video if you want to get things running right. For performance, you want to go in here. I actually don't know if this will work docked. It might freak out. Okay, so it's not letting me put 59 FPS, but that actually helped me quite a bit. We'll see how it looks in the game, but this will work in docked mode. Sorry I don't have a better way to show this off, but it is what it is. Ironically, running in docked mode on the Steam Deck can actually provide you with less options. It doesn't matter too much, but for doing things like this, it can definitely be annoying, so let's see what happens. Okay, so let's just get into gameplay. Now, the game will actually run 60 FPS pretty much most of the time with these settings, but it started stuttering and having weird, like, screen shake issues. Now, these settings did fix it, but I can't guarantee that it will work in docked mode, so just don't want any pitchforks thrown at me. Yeah, see, it's doing that, which is really weird. So the way that I fixed this was I put it on like 59 FPS. We'll try doing this. See if that fixes it. Oh, there you go. So if you're playing in docked mode, just put it in frame rate limit off, and then you'll have a pretty stable 60 FPS. See, the Steam Deck has its own frame rate limiter, but sometimes it conflicts with the actual game's frame rate limiter. Same thing with the VSync as well, so sometimes all I need to do is just go into the built-in performance profile on the Steam Deck's UI itself, and that will fix problem games like this. So you have to fight with this quite a bit, but it's definitely better than the Switch version. So if you have this game bought already and you bought a deck, just use those settings that I posted in the beginning of the video and then also from the performance menu about a minute ago, and the game will work. So yeah, that's my addendum to the best Muso games on the Steam Deck video. It's a vast majority of the ones that are available. There's a couple that I'm missing that I'll probably buy and test in time, but I gotta save up for my vacation, so I'm probably not gonna be buying anything full priced for a while. There you go. Actually, a majority of the games, despite them saying that they're unsupported, a lot of them will run. There's really only a small amount of them that won't run, and some of them don't work properly. I don't think it should be that hard for it to run Pirate Warriors 4, but I guess because it's unsupported and it wants to download like 20 gigs of shader cache. It's possible that shader compilation stutter is part of the problem, but the game is more than playable. You're welcome to play it if you want. It's definitely going to be better than the Switch version, but at the same time, I wouldn't recommend it because then you'll have to turn off shader cache downloading, which is one of the things that can make a game be unsupported. Is if the shader cache doesn't work properly, then I think they will mark it as unsupported because it's not even working properly and it's taking up a bunch of data, which is exactly what this game does. Like I said, it's like 22 gigs for this game, right? The shader cache that it wants to install is like 20 gigs. So it's like literally the size of the game, which is absolutely obscene. It should not be doing that. But I just proved that most of the Koei Tecmo Musou games do work, and the ones that aren't Koei Tecmo, like Fate, Extella, and Link, despite saying unsupported, works fine, and so does Senran Kagura. So if you have any other questions, you can go ahead and let me know. I've pretty much covered everything in both videos. Just copy the settings and the frame rate limiter thing that I did for Samurai Warriors 5, and you should be good to go. Thanks for watching.